Good morning, good morning. How are you guys and gals? 9 a.m. Friday. Happy Friday morning. You guys are doing well. Some big moves took place in the markets, didn't they? Do you guys notice any changes yet on the charts? I reached out to TradingView with respect to the candles coming in front of or going behind the objects. Any changes on your end? Posted on the forum what they told me. So we'll see whether or not anything's going to last. They said they made some changes on my charts, but too sure. I haven't tested it long to see if it's going to be sustained. So just curious if you've been noticing on your end if there's been any issues with your charts. You know, some of you it's good afternoon. It's going to be a rainy Friday over here. And by the way, there's no data coming out. There's a holiday, so there's no data coming out today. Data will be released on Monday instead. So we have the charts up, and the chart we're looking at now is gold. Big drop in price. So I want to go through data with you. Take a look at what transpired this month. Also, what I could do is let's look at the latest Aruja report and take a look at what it was that we were discussing in last weekend's report, June 13th, I believe. Yeah. 13th report. Let's just open it up. So that was last weekend's report, the one that was submitted. And market summary. What were we talking about with respect to? Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so let's read this together. Let's go through it. Because it's important to understand that there's a process that we go through to determine what is going to take place in the markets. And it's very important to always go through it and see just how accurate we were, right? We want to see if we were accurate, and if we got it right or got it wrong. And if we got it wrong, where did we get it wrong? So let's see, with respect to gold contacted daily supply zone that we had mapped out, and then price decline. Looking now at retail positions, we can see that they are even more bullish than last week. And this comes right as we are seeing price decline. Price contacted supply, and we saw a nice decline form. This is what we've been expecting going into the new week. There is a good chance that a short to mid-term move lower will take place. So we nailed it, okay? We nailed that move, right? There is a good chance short-term to mid-term move lower will take place. And so that is exactly what took place, okay? That push to the downside, short to mid-term, both. I also want to point out that there's a switch zone. Okay, so considering that retail is more long, the banks will likely try to get them to release those positions to them by driving price lower. This is what I am logically concluding by examining the positions and the charts. So you see how the logical thinking behind things will lead you to the answers, right? It's not looking at the news. It's not doing anything like that. So you look at so-called experts on TV and what they have to say, or you read the articles online and what they have to say about what the markets are going to do. They're not helping you go through the logical process to actually discover what is going to happen with price. So we applied the Sherlock analysis process to the charts, and we logically concluded that price was going to drop over the mid and short term. And that's exactly what took place. Okay, exactly what took place. Next, we had oil. Let's see, with respect to oil, examining a 3-month chart, we can see that price is very strong and is currently in consolidation, which, based on what we know to be true about the markets, could provide us with a drop in price at any given moment. But for the time being, we are seeing supply being removed. Okay? So that is at the higher time frames. Currently, we have monthly supply coming into play, but when I examine why this supply is supply, it leads me down a path of many switch zones, which then makes me consider the legitimacy of the supply in question. I want to point this out because I will be considering this going forward as I continue to analyze this chart. Yeah, so with respect to oil, this supply that we had here was very much in question. We'll go into that in more detail in the level 3 session. But this is the supply that I was talking about in the report. Okay. What we can see is that we are getting some bearish pressure right now on oil, and that could lead into the next week. All right. So we'll take a look at the U.S. CAD after we briefly go through this report and see what is likely going to happen with oil and the CAD. Euro US dollar daily supply was contacted and price declined as we had anticipated. Now we have a tested daily demand in play, and we are expecting this area to be removed. Okay? And price to decline further. That we called perfectly. That area of demand that we were talking about was obviously this one here. So our expectations was this area was going to be removed and price was going to decline. Okay? So exactly what we pointed out before it took place. And so I also was showing here, take a look at the positions held by retail traders. Retail traders were mostly long. And so you find that interesting that they are being lured into going long. Like, it can't be a coincidence, right? How is it so perfectly timed every single time the market reverses, retail traders are in the opposite position? How do you think that that is even possible? It's only possible because they're being led to do that, right? That's the only logical explanation. They are being led to do that. So that is what happens. So they got lured into going long, and then lo and behold, price reverses. Okay, so I just wanted to go through those few entries that I posted inside the Aruja report last weekend. Once again, showing that what we are seeing, how we're applying the Sherlock analysis process, is definitely revealing to us what price will do before it even does it. All right. So we nailed that. US CAD was the other one. This was perfect. US CAD watching to see if we get a rally in price to be able to get in some more shorts, short positions from higher up. This school portfolio does not have current positions. So here we see that they were long, but they've been long for quite some time, right? They've been long for quite some time. And in the observation journal, we pointed out exactly how price was going to move up. And you guys saw that. But the observation journal, in case you were unaware, observation journal is where we keep track of where the markets are moving, what zones are in play, what trends are in play, what we expect from price. Okay, it's an observation journal. Whatever our observations are in regards to the market, that's where we post the information. And so, let me see here. US CAD. So the US CAD, this is what we posted with respect to the US CAD in the observation journal. Looking at the 4-hour chart, should the two supply zones get removed, we expect midterm move to be upwards towards daily supply. So this is what we had, okay, shown on the observation journal. This is what was going on. If we had these two areas removed, then price was going to jump up. And this is the result. Okay? The two areas were removed, and what happened? Price rallied up to contact supply. And I think we went through this the week prior. Last week we went through this, right? So definitely nailed those moves. Definitely nailed them. All right, so let's get back to the charts. And let's see what took place, because these big retracements were quite significant. Now the question leads us to what is going to happen now. So price is dropping on gold and the euro and pound. So let's start by looking at gold. Price is dropping. So this area that price is reacting to right now, there is a good chance that we start to see some momentum building from this area. Okay, very good chance. And it has to do with a few things that I noticed about the chart. I think we briefly spoke about the potential for trend lines over here and potential for zones that, could or could not be there. So we're going to be aware of that and understand that there's a very good likelihood that we could see momentum from the banks begin to shift back to the upside from here. But I don't want to jump to any conclusions. So I'm going to be, sitting on the sidelines with respect to this one and waiting for them to show me proof that they're willing or that they're ready to start taking price to the upside. As for oil, we've talked about this numerous times. With the supply in play, we got the brief drop in price. Okay, it's happening on both these charts. So the 4-hour chart's already breaking down. So there's definitely room for a move to the downside. On the daily chart, we have this area of demand that the institutions created right here. And so if they decide to remove this area of demand, then it is very likely price will be dropping down towards the 65s. Okay? The 65 area. And we're at 70 right now. So there's a very good chance of that if that happens. So I'm watching to see if that is what takes place. Okay? Now with respect to the oil, we also are looking here at the US CAD. All right, so price rallied up exactly as we said it was going to do. All right. In fact, I was also speaking about a trade here to go long, if I'm not mistaken. Here is the zone to go long off of, right? It was retracements and to go long, right? That was a trade right there. I'm not quite sure if when I was talking about this one, if I had mentioned to go down 2 time frames, go down to the 15-minute chart, because I think it just took off too quickly for that, if you were looking for that type of entry. Yeah, it just came down. Oh, I see something. I see something. Let's see. Yeah. So here's, came down, fell just short of hitting it, took off. There is your entry right there. Okay? To get in long. 15-minute chart. Created a zone, rally, drops into the zone, and takes off. And look at that. That's a beauty. Wow. What a mover. So the entry 15-minute confirmation didn't happen down here, but it happened just above price here. It had so much momentum shooting to the upside that it didn't even provide us with the entry down below, but later on it did. So that was a beautiful trade. And we talked about that one, when was it? last week sometime. Was it last week? No, it was earlier this week. Earlier this week. Yeah, it was up. Price was up to here, the 15th. So it was like Tuesday or something. We spoke about that. Anybody get into that one? That long trade? US CAD? Very nice. So US CAD is showing me that there is a very good chance we see a lot more upside come. Okay? That's what this chart is showing me. So with that, that tells me Canadian dollar is going to get weaker, which tells me very good chance that we look at oil dropping even further. Okay? Very good chance that we see this area get taken out on the daily chart and price drop. All right, so just keep that in mind. Let me see some of your messages. Let me get caught up with your messages here. I got the CFTC email. Yeah, no caught data today. Bizarre. It'll be released on Monday. Why? See, I'm looking for gold volatility to contact a key level in the coming days. Consider buying gold. Same with oil volatility in regards to selling oil. That's nice. Kevin, when you say demand is removed, does that mean if traders went long, the stops shorts below the longs are bought up? When you say demand is removed, does that mean if traders went long, any stops below the longs are bought up? No, when I say demand is removed, what I'm talking about is when the institutions come in and they buy something, they're creating demand in the market, meaning they're coming in with a lot of buying, okay, buying orders. So they come in with buying orders, and that causes price to rally. So later on, when price comes down to those areas where the banks were buying, if they remove their demand, then that opens up for price to drop. Okay, we're not talking about retail traders when we're speaking about demand. You know, and I got a question about that the other day, with respect to the banks going after stops and all sorts of stuff. The thing is, retail traders like to talk about, the banks going after their stops. Don't worry about the banks going after your stops. If you're trading like everybody else and making mistakes and getting in at the wrong places, then you should be worried about your stops being hit. If you're focused on trading where the banks are trading and doing what the banks are doing, you'll never have to worry about your stops being hunted. Okay, because if you put your stop loss below an area where the banks are buying, they're not going to drop price down and go for your stop, okay? They're going to drop price down into their area of demand, and they're going to continue to purchase. So you never have to worry about your stop losses being hunted, all right? That's what retail traders do. They worry about that because their entries are terrible, okay? Because their entries are so terrible and they don't know where they should really be getting in, and they're usually being lured into getting in at the wrong places. So when they're being lured into getting in at the wrong places, the banks know where all the textbooks are teaching you to put your stop loss. So that's when you got to worry about your stop loss being hunted. Otherwise, if you're trading alongside the banks, you never have to worry about that. Just like holding positions over the weekend. A lot of people say, oh, I don't like holding positions over the weekends because, there could be some changes or some news. Let me just tell you something. If you're trading alongside the banks, you never, ever have to worry about holding a position over the weekend. Okay? I've never worried about that. Not since day one. And the more you watch how the markets move, if you're in line with what the banks are doing, you'll realize that only people that don't know what they're doing worry about holding positions over the weekend. I'm sorry, but that is the truth, okay? Because you can hold a day trade, short-term trade, long-term trade, midterm trade, whatever, over the weekend, and never have any issues with it if you are trading alongside the direction with the banks. Okay, then you have no issues. You got into US CAD, Giorgio, nice, good. Francesco, you did as well, good. Tim, US CAD missed my limit order. I got in short CAD Yen though, nice. Boris, thank you for your work. Kevin, it has been eye-opening in the last few years. Good stuff, Boris. Yeah, that's the whole point of us doing these sessions, is to make you see what's really going on in the markets. All right, so let's take a look. Let's take a look at CAD Yen, since you mentioned it. Because this one, we had targets that were hit, and then price perfectly reversed from those areas. Remember when we were talking about this? This is one of the entries here that I posted. Entry here, and target was here. How do you like that? Target gets hit, price reverses. Why? Because we located this area as an area that the banks were likely going to be taking profits on their long positions too. So wouldn't it be nice to get in when you know the banks are getting in, and to get out when the banks are getting out? I mean, look at that. We call that right to the top. That's just so wonderful. It's just great to be able to do that. Really, really, really great. So CAD Yen, nice drop. And we have, let's go over our charts to see what trading decisions we could make on them. So right now we still have an uptrend on the daily chart. So that would indicate that we should be buying. Okay. On the 4-hour chart, it's in a downward trend, so it indicates that we should be selling. On the weekly chart, it's in an upward trend, so it indicates we should be buying. And on the monthly chart, it's in no trend whatsoever, so it indicates that we should be cautious. All right? So just by looking at the colors, 4-hour trend is down, we should be shorting. Daily trend is up, we should be going long. Weekly trend is up, we should be going long. 4-hour trend is down, but we have demand that's in play right now on the daily chart. So do you think you should be shorting when demand is in play on one time frame higher? Probably not a good idea, right? So going short, it's over now. Now is not the time to be shorting. It was the time. Some of you took advantage of that, so that's great. So now we have to not consider this anymore. This time frame is out of limits, out of bounds. Cannot trade it. Take your eyes off this. Do not look. So what's the next time frame up that we can focus our attention on? Oh, we look at daily. That's the next time frame up. And it's in an uptrend. And we have demand in play. So potential longs, right? Potential longs. But would we want to just get in long and make the assumption that price is going to start heading up? Probably not. Why is that? Well, if you look over here, right over onto the monthly chart, I said we have to be caution. We have to have caution with this chart. Why is that? Because a couple things. One, there's no trend here. Two, what do we have in play on this chart? What is in play on this chart? Do we have supply or do we have demand in play? Okay, we have supply in play. So what does that mean? That means that the banks could be using this area to take profits on long positions and build a short position. So that means they could be putting pressure to the downside. So do we want to get in long if the institutions are taking profits on longs? Probably not. Do we want to get in long if the institutions are building a short position? Probably not. Let's take a look, just out of curiosity. I'm going to take a look at something here on CAD Jap. CAD Japanese Yen. It looks like most traders are, well, it's almost 50-50. Yeah, 52, 58, a little bit short. Okay. That's probably as price was dropping here. Who knows? Um, okay, so looking at these charts, we see that, green for daily, green for weekly, meaning buying, but we got to take into consideration what we're seeing on the monthly chart. So at this point, I would just stay clear of this chart, okay? It could go lower. And what were we saying when we looked at the US CAD, right? That there is strong evidence to suggest that the US CAD is going to go higher. If the US CAD goes higher, what does that do with the Canadian dollar? It makes the Canadian dollar weaker. So if the Canadian dollar gets weaker, what could likely happen with the CAD Japanese yen? Drop even more. Exactly. So even more reason why I wouldn't want to be going in long the Canadian Japanese yen. If you force me to make a trade on this chart, it would be short. Okay? If you force me to make a trade right now on this chart, it would be to go short. With targets, probably, let me see, 87.20s, around there. 87.20, about there. So let's just mark that. Let's just mark that. Target. Okay? 87.20. Short target. That would be my target if I had to get into a position right now, which I wouldn't be getting into right now. I'd be waiting for things to happen on the charts to provide a good entry. Let's see. Can you please take a look at Kiwi US dollar? So that is the CAD Japanese yen. Let's look at the US dollar Japanese yen. So it went higher? Yeah. So that move to the downside from supply was temporary. Why was it temporary? Remember I said be very careful with that because we could see a big move to the upside. Why? Well, because the dollar was set to get strong. Okay? And remember what we were saying with respect to the interest rate release. That regardless of what was going to happen with the interest rate, all the evidence was suggesting that the US dollar was going to continue higher. So if there was a push to the downside, it would be only temporary because the expected move is upwards. All right. So US dollar Japanese yen, you remember what I've mentioned before, where the institutions create an area of major buying, causing price to move up. And then what happens? Price comes back down to that area, and look what's starting to happen now. Okay? But at the same time, be aware that we've got supply back in play on the weekly chart. Okay? And that's aligned with what is happening here on the monthly chart. So just be aware of that. The dollar. So we got that increase in the dollar. Wow, what a move. What a move, what a move, what a move. What a beautiful move. So let's put things into perspective again. Remember NFP? Remember what I said about NFP? What did I say? That they were going to lure retail traders into getting the opposite trade. As they were selling, who do you think was so happy to be buying there as price was dropping on the dollar? Who do you think was so happy and excited to be buying? Obviously the banks. So you see what happened? You see how that move was just so limited? Stopped here. I bet you, if we examine the news, we probably did. I don't remember. But I bet you that they were talking about the US dollar or giving an indication that the US dollar was going to drop even further. So who do you think was holding these positions, as price was going sideways here? So banks come in, they buy, and now look at that. What was the winning trade? going short or going long the dollar? Pretty obvious now, okay? But it wasn't so obvious if you were listening to the news. It wasn't so obvious if you looked at the NFP data and the results. You'd be like, wait a minute. The NFP data came out, but wasn't the numbers not good enough? So it was considered negative? Isn't that what just happened? The numbers were not good enough. So it was considered negative. So why is the dollar rallying up in price? Doesn't make any sense, does it? You know? Except for when you know what is taking place on the charts. Except for when you know what the banks are doing with price. When you know those things, oh, all of a sudden it makes perfect sense why price is doing what it's doing. So it's rallying, and it's very strong, and we see this continuing, for a little bit longer before price will very likely turn back down to the downside and start heading lower. Very, very good chance of that. Okay? That's what we're seeing. So unless different evidence is presented to us, we're going to stick with what we see. All right? So we will stick with that. If something changes in the reports, in the data, then we'll re-examine what we see. But let's take a look at the latest entry in the Aruja report with respect to the dollar. Price consolidated at the lows as the banks added a small amount to their longs and then added more to their shorts, from 27 to a more aggressive 30K. Sentiment is slowly turning bearish again as net positions slowly decrease. Long positions are still above average, and shorts are now well above average size. We have been waiting for a daily downtrend to form, and that is what took place. But now it is broken, and price is reversing momentum to the upside. We also mentioned that this downtrend was not supported with supply, which made it weaker and hence why it eventually broke. Okay. So now we are seeing what eventually took place down here. Okay, we had the downtrend. It didn't have a good formation. It didn't have what we would be looking for in terms of strength to the downside. So that ended up breaking through, and now we are getting that push to the upside. Okay, but in terms of positions, we still see that shorts are more aggressive than longs. Although over the last few weeks, longs have been increasing, I think that was just in preparation for this current move that we see. Okay, but you look at the positions. Shorts are 30,000, longs are 31. So there's more longs than shorts, but still shorts are more aggressive. The more aggressive position. Why? Because it's taking into consideration where we were previously. All right, with respect to the positions. Where were we previously with respect to long positions? Where were we previously with respect to short positions? And based on that, it gives us an indication. So we're still seeing this as aggressive to the downside, right? Their positions are aggressively short. So we'll see as this plays out. Like I said, we are expecting more upside. But then we are expecting for things to shift eventually to the downside. All right, let me see. We got a couple things. Hi, Ken. For fun, would you mind doing a quick supply and demand analysis on a stock? You saw a headline for this stock and immediately thought about your supply and demand training. Yeah, no problem. LZB Lazy Boy. Oh, okay. Only 50 people watching this gold. Incredible how people want quick, easy setups instead of really understanding the engine market. Yeah. Well, there's 50 people now, but eventually it'll grow. You guys are here, and that's what's important, right? You guys see the value, and you guys are absorbing it, so that's a good thing. Let's do that. Let's take a look at LZB. Why not? Lazy boy. I've got a lazy boy. Lazy Boy Incorporated. So what is the news saying about Lazy Boy? Saw a headline for this stock and immediately thought of your supply and demand. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Wow. Dropping hard. Some negative news. What was this? All right, so we have data going back to 1996. Oh, even further, 1974. Wow, they've been around for a while, huh? Okay, so this is what we got going on. So let me quickly take a look. So what I am seeing is that price is retracing, and there isn't any demand until this area here. So that's between 34 and 30. So price can easily drop down to 34 and 30 based on what we're seeing here on the monthly chart. Okay, so that's the monthly chart. Weekly chart, let me see. We have supply coming into the market here. Okay, that is major supply coming into the market. Trend is broken on the weekly chart, so there's no stopping price from dropping. No stopping price from dropping towards that area. So what I'm seeing is that price is heading down to the 33s. Okay, price is heading down to the 33s. And then once down there, if momentum shifts, and then you get the chart signal to go long, then that could be a good long. All right, that's what I'm seeing. All right, so I think that's good. We covered a lot. Yeah, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask. And if you don't have any questions, then we'll let you guys go. So like and share. We only have 50 viewers, but you know we get more viewers and we get more people to participate if we get more likes. So if you want to spread the love and you want other people to be able to see the light when it comes to the market, get more insight, you know, have a better understanding, you know, hopefully get a different perspective, a winning perspective, something that could eventually help them build a more stable financial future for themselves, then please like and share. You know, I ask you to like, but even if you shared this session that we do every morning on your feeds, you got Twitter, you got Facebook, wherever, you know a bunch of traders, just share the feed with them so that they can join in with us. Okay, it's always much appreciated. That's how you can show your love and your support for what it is that we do. Okay, so if there isn't any questions, the headline was bullish LZB, and I thought they need buyers. It was bullish, wow, and then you see it dropping so hard. How can the headline be bullish and it's dropping? So there's something serious going on with Lazy Boy. They need to take profits. So they need people to come in and be buying the stocks that they're getting rid of, right? Otherwise, price will just keep dropping and dropping and dropping. And they don't want that. They want to sell at high prices. That's too bad. They're such untrustworthy people, I guess is the polite way to put it. Bitcoin to 40,000, liquidate the shorts, Bitcoin to the moon. Hash Brown, come on, Hash Brown. What are you talking about here? Bitcoin to 40,000. Possibly, but liquidate the shorts, Bitcoin to the moon. I wouldn't say to the moon. You know, we know what's going on with Bitcoin. We're staying away from it. Right. Regarding US dollar, Japanese yen, H4 demand zone that price is reacting from. If long, what are the things you would take into consideration regarding profit targets? Well, let's really quickly look at that. I'd be very careful. I would be taking 2-to-1 positions off at like 110.53s, or 2-to-1 is probably a little bit lower, 110.47s or something like that. I'd take a portion off there with targets a little higher, maybe 111s, above 111s, if it really picks up speed. But again, we're in supply, so take your 2-to-1 and call it a night and enjoy it on me. Have a good weekend. Okay, that's what I would do, because you don't really want to hold that position for a long time. It'll work short term, but long term will be dangerous. Okay. All right, everybody. So thank you for today. Thank you for joining me this Friday. I hope you enjoy your weekend. No data again, once again, coming out today, so there won't be any report. But the data will be released on Monday, and we'll discuss it then. Okay, thanks everybody. Take care and enjoy your weekend.